It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. Well, interesting day yesterday. First off, some of the polling out there.
Yeah?
Some of the polling shows that Kamala Harris has a big lead.
In what? Wordle?
Kamala Harris has a big lead for 2028 right now. She was at 34 or 30%. Newsom's at 24%.
Wouldn't hers be Wordle salad? Sorry, I got to get them all out of the way.
Now,
right. I'm sorry. Those repeat those numbers again. She was at
30, and he was at 24 from the poll I saw yesterday.
Okay. All right.
But she was at 30. Newsom at 24.
Well,
I say,
yeah.
Now I understand.
But he's embarrassingly handsome. She's just embarrassing.
Right. But now we understand why, because that's the best that Democrats can do. The Democrats cannot do any better than Kamala Harris.
Right.
Even though they've got years to find someone new, they cannot find anybody better than Kamala Harris. But please, Republicans, you can do better. Now, we're not talking about your presidential candidates. We're talking about a candidate for Congress in Texas in the 31st District, which would be Central Texas.
Right.
Whereas we told you the ShamWow guy back a couple of months ago has announced that he is running for Congress.
Uh-huh.
He put out his first official commercial yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
All right.
Here we go. And by the way, I posted this on my X page, and people were messaging me saying, well, this isn't true. This is a parody. I went, no, this is actually true. He is running, and this is his ad. Here we go. Okay.
Hey, it's Vince. I'm running for Congress against this guy. Stop having a politician that's worse than Biden.
For discretionary funding.
Instead, vote for me, a guy who's not half dead. I'm going to soak up the swamp, clean the house, and pick up those liberal tears at the same time. I'm going to slap chop the nuts out of the woke, making less blue-haired commies and more red-blooded Americans. Vote for me so I can represent you and the ones that can't stand up for themselves.
Vote for ShamWow!
Paid for by Offer Bid ShamWow Shlomi for Congress.
He's rolling with it.
And he's
owning it.
He's got the headset on, everything.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out, Gary at Red Eye 1 on my X page.
He's
running against, I think it's Representative Carter, who's 84 years old.
ShamWow Shlomi.
Yes.
He's rolling with it. He's using that as his identifier because you already got a built-in brand. I guess you go with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm glad he worked in the slap chop, though. I actually own one of those. I don't think I bought it off TV. I think I bought it at the store somewhere.
But the funniest thing is the people writing me going, that's a good parody. Is that in the Babylon Bee? And I went, no, this is real.
No, it's real.
Real. No way. I go, yeah, it's real.
It's real.
So, yes, ShamWow.
Yeah. Well, he could get it, and he could get out of slap chop thing and say, we're going to cut spending, and then do it, the whole thing. He's basically, what you just heard there is kind of like an abbreviated version of his infomercial that he used to do. That's basically what you just heard, and you kind of keep doing that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But at least it's entertaining.
I have to find the polls to see if there's a poll yet in the district.
I see a lot of Jasmine Crockett's ads on digital. I see a ton of them on digital.
That is becoming a zoo.
Yeah.
When I saw Tallarico, and we mentioned this just briefly yesterday.
Yeah.
But Tallarico out there trying to, one of his major points he's trying to make is that the Bible approves of abortion.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, so nobody's attempting to be the moderate at all.
No. No, it's like a competition. Who's the craziest? Who's the most insane, over-the-top radical between those two? And that's what they're doing.
And then the one poll yesterday, did you see the other poll for the Texas Senate primary? The JL Partners. Now, everybody's questioning whether this is a legit poll or not.
Okay.
But it was Paxton 27, Cornyn 26, Wesley Hunt 26. Everything is in the margin of error.
Where was Wesley Hunt in that in the one poll?
The Emerson poll going back, and this would have been likely voters. This goes back to the 10th and the 12th of January.
Mm-hmm.
Paxton had 27, Cornyn 26, and Hunt 16.
Yeah, I was going to say it was in the teens somewhere. Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom.
Boom, yeah.
Now again, they had one poll, the coefficient poll. This is from early December, and I'm like, it's early December. But it was the biggest number of people, twice the number polled of likely voters, and Paxton had 27, Cornyn 28, and Hunt had 19 at that point. But look, when you look at Cornyn and you look at Paxton among Republicans, they look at it and they go, Wesley Hunt's really good.
Yeah,
the way he presents himself when he's on, I think looking for someone who will actually do what Republicans want, the projection of authority and confidence, and Paxton, who's been around a while for Republican voters to know, and Cornyn too, they look at him and go, well, he's the new guy. Give him a chance.
Right, yeah. Less baggage. But also less of the, how do I want to phrase this? The legacy battle, the type of baggage of the back and forth, because, Paxton has a strong following, no doubt. As AG of Texas, there was a strong following for him. A lot of us not happy with Cornyn, and that's been the case for a while. It's just he's just a blah, 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 blah. I just kind of, in some ways, he has the passion of Susan Collins from Maine. You know what I mean? They don't have the exact same voting record. No, but you know where I'm going? It's like, are you willing to fight? Are you willing? No, and I think that's what Paxton really wanted to take advantage of, because Paxton's shown a record of, the bulldog approach.
Right. But that's, you use the word, is he willing? Let me put it this way. Is he willing to fight, but not over the top crazy? Right.
You mean for Cornyn?
For Wesley Hunt.
For Wesley Hunt. Could be the best of both worlds. We need somebody who will fight, but we don't need the bulldog.
But he's not viewed as a radical.
Right.
He's viewed as a solid conservative.
Right. And we've talked about that before.
And the fact that he's getting that message out, and if that polling is correct, if he is moving in that direction,
that would be a huge jump in a short period of time. But
there's still a month, and the momentum is on his way, if that is accurate.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is name recognition, And I can't, it's impossible. I can't look at how I view things or you view things and say, well, yeah, we all know who he is. He's got great recognition with us. We don't count.
Right, yeah.
Because it's all we do is
right.
look at all this stuff and see where it is, and the average person just doesn't. And that's not an insult. It's just, it's when you talk about you've got, 3 candidates or a congressperson from this particular. Well, we've seen how many people in the country, for example, cannot name major politicians.
Yeah, right.
And it's really amazing when you think about it. If you pay attention to talk radio, our listeners, our great listeners, for example, probably know who Wesley Hunt is. Mm-hmm. Especially if you live in Texas, you know who he is. Mm-hmm. And that's all that matters. Doesn't matter whether anybody knows you outside of it. But Wesley Hunt has gone viral on a number of videos over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which, if you're a Republican who pays attention, even outside of Texas, you know who he is.
Yeah.
Oh, I did get it wrong, though, the latest poll.
Mm.
Harris, it's the Rasmussen poll. Mm. Harris has 34. Newsom, 20. Buttigieg, 10.
Mm.
Ocasio-Cortez, 7. Shapiro, 10. Kelly, Pritzker, and Spartacus, 6.
Mm.
Bashir and Moore, 3.
Mm.
So why is Spartacus on there?
I don't know.
So, yeah, I just thought some of the polling was interesting, especially with Harris. Still solid. Think about that. Newsom has to be pulling his hair out, but the fact is it's even effective. It's effective in even Democrat circles. Newsom heads California. And Democrats say, well, if he's representing California, he can't win a national race.
Right.
Because why, if you were a Democrat, and look, we know they're insane on the issues to begin with.
Yeah.
And you look at Harris, and you go, she was a monumental favor.
Right.
Do Democrats are they buying into her book? Well, if I would have had more time, if you give me a lead up of 3 years where I can do more intense interviews and maybe a Joe Rogan podcast this time.
I think so. I think it's the Biden didn't do any good by what he was doing at the time. I think with their, because again, you got to put yourself in their delusional mind state. You've got to understand where their mind is. I wouldn't recommend putting yourself there. Stay away from it if you can. But you have to understand where their mindset is. And if you look at it, there's no doubt that I think a number of people do buy into, well, if she had a real campaign. Then beyond that, she would have, if not for Biden's incompetence, she would have been better as a vice president. Now, forget completely the fact that she failed drastically in the 2020 race as a candidate when she was running for president, and by December 3rd of 2019, she was out because her campaign was imploding and the money was gone. The organization was imploding. And if you can't lead an organization, if you can't excite an organization, your organization, your campaign, and you can't get money, then something's very wrong. I think on the larger scale, it's one thing for respondents to be there. On the larger scale, you're going to have to see money going her way. You're going to have to see a number of things. You're going to have to see some, again, organization of a campaign, the boots on the ground for her, and all over the U.S., that kind of support, because that is going to tell you where the confidence is in her, the true confidence is, and not just responding to a pollster. But it may be there. I by 28 or by 27. I don't know. But there's no doubt, to answer your question, there are people that believe that if she had more than 107 days, if she had a full, real primary season to run and everything else, well, she had one. And she botched it horribly. And, of course, nobody wants they live in the bubble.
But she wasn't, let's put it, she wasn't an unknown that just happened to come in with 107 days. She was the vice president of the United States.
Well, no, that's the delusional part. Exactly. It should have been, because if something happened and President Trump, had decided to stand down and not run again or whatever, and let's say J.D. Vance, was going to go, J.D. Vance would have momentum. She didn't have momentum. She didn't have any. Because within the Biden administration, we know the back and forth and that they just didn't really care for each other, but there was no confidence in her, and that was widely reported.
Did you see, I think it's on the NBC interview for the Super Bowl, Trump was asked, and he didn't pick a particular person. This was interesting. He didn't say in the clip I saw, maybe he said it in another clip, but he didn't say, he said, well, I think J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio would be great. He threw Rubio in there.
Right, yeah. He said that before.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah. It was a few months ago. Yeah.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready. The top 2 violations written against drivers every year are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, the latest on the abduction of Nancy Guthrie and what we learned yesterday. Also, coming up, the blowback now on the radical transgender movement. I mean, it's growing every single day.
Yeah,
and we'll after that civil lawsuit. So we will get to that. And I love this headline. The Middle East politics comes to New York City. Homeless dying in the streets.
Yeah.
Garbage not picked up. All that. And the fallout and just some of the response still on the Washington Post layoffs yesterday. And it just, I mean, that just gets to be fascinating. It's like, enough already.
Yeah.
People get laid off all the time.
Well, look, if you're losing tons of money, then something drastic is going to have to change. You're going to have to change really the approach of the Washington Post altogether. You know, the New York Post, there was the former editor of the, New York Times. She said that every time they posted a story about Trump, this was during his first term, subscriptions would go through the roof. So however you're going to monetize, we know it's the New York Times. We've already compartmentalized them. They are activists. They're not journalists, but they're making a profit. And I don't know what they do at the Washington Post, but you start with getting rid of a bunch of people. If it's not working, you're going to have to cut people.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at some of the polls as we were, there was one poll that came out yesterday, which I went, whoa. And it was really pretty amazing. The Rasmussen tracking poll on the president's approval rating, lowest ever, 41%.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned Rasmussen because yesterday we mentioned Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, who was at the White House telling the president back in December, I think it was, or November.
I think it was November. I think
saying, "Look, you've got to solve these things, otherwise you're in trouble." And talked about the 42%. I was looking at CNN today saying Trump and the Republican Party, the MAGA movement is stronger than it was in 2016. Doesn't matter.
You need more than the MAGA movement.
Need more than the MAGA movement in order to. Republicans need more than the MAGA movement in order to win.
In 24,
by
he
the way,
had more than the MAGA movement.
Whatever the MAGA movement is in 2026, and I don't know what it is.
Or, I think we have to include the possibility, and or how much of the MAGA movement is still solid, based on certain moves that he's made.
Well, what they're saying, this is CNN. That's what I was just saying. They were saying he's more popular in the MAGA movement now than he was at the beginning of 2016.
Well, it gets back to defining what MAGA means and how, because the question would be, all right, even if the MAGA movement, let's just say the MAGA movement's fully intact, there hasn't been any erosion of the MAGA movement whatsoever. How many of them are motivated by members of Congress that they're going to be voting for in November? He's not going to be on the ballot, but he has to lead the party. Mm-hmm. This is the whole point. Can he convince them? Because that's your uphill battle. And then the bigger battle, you've got to win over independents in order to get them there. You need your party on Capitol Hill for the second half of your second term. You know that. And you're going to have to do everything you can to appeal to a broad group like you did in 24, a much broader group than just the MAGA base.
When, you and I talked about that there's been a change. Obviously, there's been a change in the last couple of days with how the administration has reversed itself on a number of different areas. And Mark Mitchell brought that up. He brought up, they've got to do this, they've got to do this, you can't be doing this. Everything that we had mentioned. Even affordability. I don't think he focused enough, Mark Mitchell, in the article yesterday, and we said it, on affordability, but everything that we have brought up of the challenges that this administration has, that we've been criticized for, Mark Mitchell has told the president, and the president apparently now is listening, especially in the in the last week. Now, on affordability, don't know what he's going to do because that really comes down to the tariffs. Right. Which is something that he's still struggling with Republicans.
Right.
But Republicans are going to stand by him, obviously, on the border. And I think that Republicans are smart enough to look, because you don't hear any criticism about putting Homan in there, do you?
No.
Because there is a part of the Republic of MAGA that looks at a Pam Bondi and says, you didn't deliver. That looks at a Noman and say, look, Kristi Noman says, look, we understand what you're doing, but if this can be done, we need to do all these things and get them done, but still keep the poll numbers high. You've got to be able to do both. As we've always said, what Republicans have to do is promote conservative principles, and we think it's not too hard to convince the independents that it's a lot better than where the insane Democrats are. Now, the one light that I see, two lights actually. You've seen the president now start. Something happened in the last week with a bunch of different things, as we talked about, starting with Homan and other things out there where it's like, okay, they know they're getting hurt in the polls right now. They know it.
Yeah.
But the light at the end of the tunnel is the fact of the Democrats are still as insane as ever. Watching Chuck Schumer on yesterday, I think it was CNN, might have been MSNBC, where they said, look, 71%, I'll find the audio, 71% of Democrats say this needs to be done. Why are you going for it? Because it's Jim Crow 2.0. Like, that's not going to cut it. You've cried the racism for decades on voter ID, and it hasn't worked. And if you do this right, if you focus on the voter ID, if you focus on fraud, if you focus on the tying in sanctuary cities to fraud, where money, as we've seen, the fraud going, for example, to so many Somalis who came in. When you bring up the fraud, sanctuary cities, when you bring all of it up, when you bring up what Biden did, when you bring up how successful you've been at the border, it works. You also have to talk affordability because it's killing people. I was looking at, I've said it the other day, my natural gas bill, highest it's ever been. Highest it's ever been by probably $75 for last month. Mm-hmm. Now, it's been a little bit colder. Doesn't matter. You see it. You see even in these, but then again, you look at in these liberal states like New York. Did you see the poll? Hochul's doing better.
Yeah.
Hochul's doing better in the polls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what you've got to also realize is in many of these blue states, they wish to destroy themselves. When you look at Minnesota, those politicians wish to destroy their communities. Yep. Those activists wish to destroy their communities, and a significant portion of the Democrats also wish to destroy their communities.
Yep.
And so when that's the case, you look at it and you go, all right, you got to hit independents because you've lost the Democrats that are left in the Democratic Party promoting the insanity of so many of the ideas that they propose are not going to stop supporting the Democratic Party. So you need to get the independents, and I don't believe it's that hard to get the independents.
I don't either on things especially that are happening when there's a greater increase of crime in their community, when there's a greater increase of a presence of foreign criminals in their community, then it changes hearts and minds pretty quickly. And if you're creating these blue cities and blue states, creating these ICE-free zones, inevitably you're going to see more foreign gang activity in those zones. And it's not going to take long. This is how the cartels and the gangs play it. They know they need distribution for their drugs. They care nothing about life. They care nothing about the law. They believe they're under the radar. Not only are they under the radar, but in these sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties and sanctuary states, they can get away with it all day long. That they themselves can play the victim, and the activists on the left will help them do it. And that's a very dangerous situation given the history of the cartels and these dangerous gangs.
Now, the interesting thing is with with Schumer out there, I was reading another article. It's like, Schumer's out there promoting this stuff, but everybody hates Schumer, including the Democrats.
Well, in fact, here's a story from Axios. One quote from a Democrat in the House: "He needs to get the hell out," about Schumer. House Democrats found themselves, again, this is from Axios, House Democrats, and hold on, I'll tell you why it matters in a minute. House Democrats found themselves in the familiar position this week of seething at Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer for negotiating a deal with Republicans to keep the government funded. Why it matters. While his caucus remains behind him, Schumer is becoming persona non grata for much of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. It was Delia Ramirez out of Illinois. She's a Democrat in the House. She says, "I'm going to continue to tell you that Schumer needs to get the hell out over and over and over until he does. He continues to demonstrate to us that he can't meet the moment." And again, as they point out in Axios, this is nothing new. He's been putting the cheese on raw burgers for quite some time. He's not getting the job done.
But it's not because the Democratic Party looks at Schumer and says, you're too radical and we need to moderate.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite.
They look at Chuck Schumer, who is as freaking radical left as you can get.
Yeah.
And they're saying you're not radical enough.
Right.
When you look at the, Jasmine Crockett, Tallarico primary here in Texas, they're trying to one up as to who can be
who's more radical,
the most crazy.
Yeah.
And when you got Tallarico out, because you think about it, if you ask anybody if they know of Tallarico, what they're going to say is, well, yeah, he's a guy that says that the Bible allows abortion.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a winner in most places, and it's definitely not a winner in the state of Texas.
Right.
And so he was viewed, remember, well, maybe he can be viewed as a moderate over a radical Jasmine Crockett, and it's been going in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I saw she had the lead the other day in one of the new polls that was out.
And her ads are filled with, abolish ICE and impeach Noam. And Texas, of course, a massive border state. But, again, it's the battle to prove who's more radical. And it keeps going on the left. This is the future. These people are the future of the party. Whether she wins the Senate seat or not, she's not going to go away. The radical faction of the Democratic Party is going nowhere. It's growing, and they'll go anywhere they have to in order to gain power. It's going to be never ending. As we said and have said now for years, they're not done. The fight isn't over. It wasn't over in 24 after Trump won. Again, it's not. It's certainly not over now, especially with the economy. And there's an uphill battle at the Republican Party and the president. By the way, the president said, it was a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I'm going to be campaigning for the midterms. I'm going to be going out there and campaigning really hard and the whole thing, which is great. That's fine. The Republican Party, each of them is going to have to pull their own weight. And I don't know what you do. I have no idea at this point what you do. We're well into February now. I don't know what you do on affordability. I have no idea what they're going to try and promise or make happen between now and November. Everybody, including us, we were saying it about a year ago. You need to get that game going now so the results start doing the heavy lifting for you and start working for you. A year later, we're still saying the same thing, and I think it may be too late to enact anything, because anything that you enact is going to, first of all, take time to do that, and then it's going to take time for those results to actually realize.
Well, you've got two things that could possibly happen. It's but the Supreme Court may not do it till July. Supreme Court comes out and says tariffs are all gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might, I don't know whether it would do it, how long it would take, would lower prices a little bit.
Yeah.
Then the other thing would be, the only thing they have left is to give the American public more money.
Right. Some kind of rebate or something.
More
tax rebate. I don't know where they go.
Above and beyond your taxes April 15th.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
I don't see it.
I don't see that happening, because the only way you can do that is to increase the debt. They're not going to they're not going to pay for it.
Right.
And then the increasing the debt more puts more pressure on inflation.
Right. Yeah. And then your new Fed chair is going to have to do something about that.
Yeah. And the new Fed chair isn't going to have, if he gets in, is not going to have, from what we know, easy monetary policy.
No.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So if someone has asked me to, in less than 50 words, where we are right now for the midterm election, it's Republicans need to do something on affordability, and Democrats are just going bat soup, insane left even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what does that mean for November? I don't know.
I have no idea. And outside of their primary, I don't expect the Democrats to try and moderate at all, past their primary, which historically you would do back in the day. But now there's really, it's about becoming even more radical, getting closer to November.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Hello.
Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here.
Happy Friday to you.
All right, I just saw the cable news rankings have come out. It's like, wow.
They're all in last place.
Well,
Fox News seems to be doing okay.
oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
The Fox News has the top 16 shows.
Wow.
Let me put it this way: the top 16 hours, because they go by the hour. They don't go by the entire show.
Right.
But the five number one, the five at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
4.1 million.
Yeah.
Jesse Waters in. Gutfeld at 10 p.m. 3 million at 10 p.m. That's great.
He's
numbers.
crushing it.
That's unbelievable numbers.
And it's very funny, by the way. He's very funny on that.
Brett Baer at 6 p.m. Then Hannity at 9 p.m.
Okay.
Ingram, America Reports with Smith and Roberts, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Will Cain Show, America Reports with Smith and Roberts. The story with Martha McCallum, Outnumbered, is number 11. America Newsroom with Perino and Hemmer is 12. That's the 10 a.m. hour.
Right.
They also have the 9 a.m. hour, which is number 14. The Faulkner Focus at 11 a.m. Also is number 13. Fox and Friends, number 15. Fox News at Night with Trace Gallagher, number 16. And so there you go, the top 16. Then you get MS Now. Wow. Just so tough to say MS Now. I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
What are they? Oh, that's right, MS. MS Now. Lawrence O'Donnell is the top show, The Last Word. Number
Really?
17, yes, at MSNBC.
All right.
And then you start going down, and I start looking at some of the other shows out there, and I'm like, oh, where's Abby Phillips? Because that's where Scott Jennings is always on, and those little clips go viral.
Yeah.
It's like, where is she here? So I start scanning, going, okay, where's Abby Phillips? Number 30, no, she's not there. Let me see. We go number 35, no, not there. Number 40, not there. Number 47 is where Abby Phillips is.
Wow.
The Lead with Jake Tapper, 48.
Wow.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, 50. But you go down and you look at it, and then the interesting thing is, I don't see any Newsmax in the top 63.
Yeah.
News Nation, nothing. And I went, well, wait a minute, did they exclude them? Maybe. I just did the research here over the, I go, did they exclude them for some reason? Because we see, for example, we'll see Chris Cuomo especially talking on News Nation, right? And so you wonder.
Yeah.
And now the let me just get back to it again. I'm going through a bunch of different windows here. The repeat with Anderson Cooper at 1 a.m., 184,000 people watching. Okay. Now that's a repeat of the show.
Right.
At 1 a.m. So it's like, okay, you're telling me nobody from, for example, Newsmax beats that? Newsmax is currently the 37th most popular channel on TV, watched by a total number of 156,000 people, down 13% from December of 2025. So you look at it and go, they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
To get 100,000 people, you have to have just basically a signal.
Right.
A signal with anything on it gets you those kind of numbers. And then when I was looking for what happened in News, I had News Nation.
Would it be safe to say the ShamWow commercials had more viewers?
Probably, yeah.
But it had, of course, more placement on different channels. So,
yeah. And where did I was looking for somehow News Nation was like 108,000.
You know, I look at the business model that to me, the overall business model of cable news, again, Fox News is chugging right along, assuming everything's going fine on revenue. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But you and I have friends over at Newsmax. I saw something from Chris Salcedo posted the other day. Typically, when I see things from News Nation or Newsmax, it's on their social media or YouTube page. I don't have cable. So it's in fact, always on social media. If we're watching something from Chris Cuomo or something that's posted and it comes across, and that's about timing too, or depending on how viral it goes, how wide it goes on social media, it may rise to the top. But that's the only time I see either of those two, anything from those two channels. But cable subscriptions being, down further and further and further. Fox launched their all-in-one app, which is, I think the top tier is $24.95 a month. You get all of it. You get Fox News. You get your local Fox station. You get Fox Nation. And I don't remember what else. But you can watch it now without cable, which is going to be the trend. But if you look at like the late night talk shows, Kimmel, even Fallon, Colbert, the largest audience collectively comes from the clips landing on social media after the show airs. And they're on network. They're on free TV. And I'm wondering how much, cable news gets a benefit, from that. I follow all of them, so I see their clips, but I'm wondering, because that can be monetized. Their YouTube channels get monetized the same way an original content creator does. And so all of that can be monetized, but you're looking at a collective audience, a collective reach, basically, with all of that involved. Because if you don't have a streaming game right now, especially in cable news, with the exception of Fox News, your future's limited. And I think even with Fox News, they realize that, and that's why they launched their app, allowing people to get Fox News now outside of cable or a satellite subscription. And I just think that's the business model going forward. We're seeing that with everything, sports and everything. You're going to have some kind of streaming outlet, or even creating your own proprietary streaming outlet. Were you telling me the Bills were creating their own
Yeah, teams are doing that now. Yeah,
network.
the Buffalo Bills have left the radio station that was carrying them, and they're going to do their own broadcast and do everything on their own.
Yeah.
And then maybe attempt to sell it to other radio stations and do streaming.
Yeah,
that's where
you kind of have to be on all the above,
Yeah, well, one of the things is when you look at that, all the NFL teams out there, look, the NFL keeps upping the price on everything. But radio has changed completely for the NFL because when I worked for radio stations that carried NFL teams before in the past, going back, 35, 40 years, remember, in the 70s, every home game was blacked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got huge numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Radio stations would get huge numbers for the NFL because there was no television option.
Right.
Now every home game is being shown. Even in the 90s, remember they had that 72-hour rule? If you didn't sell out, all the teams used to be scrambling. They're trying to get somebody to buy the tickets, by Thursday night so the home game can be shown on TV. Well, that changed the dynamics completely of radio because everybody's watching when your home team is playing in the NFL, everybody's watching it on TV.
Right.
Your audience probably was cut, 70, 80%.
Right.
And streaming, NFL teams selling all their own ads to, or the vast majority of the ads instead of selling to the radio stations. But a lot of radio stations have said, no, we're not going to do it anymore. A lot of radio companies, the major radio companies have said,
right.
no, the return.
It's too expensive.
Well, when they used to, for example, at a home game, for example, you're carrying it on the NFL, and you've got these stations that start the pregame show at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And the game might be at noon or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they start the pregame show at 7 a.m. The game's over at 4. They keep the postgame show going till 9 a.m. and they're just pumping everything they can because they're trying to keep that audience that have clicked that radio station there for Monday morning. And when you had such a huge influx of people on that Sunday, listening to that home game, they stayed during the week, and you could see, especially in the fall rating books, where that would show.
Right.
And it's not the same. So the return on the investment for the local stations aren't there, which means the return on the investment for the NFL teams weren't there. And they're all about with, we see what the salaries were in the NFL 40 years ago compared to now.
Yeah.
What are they?
100
times more?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, they weren't making that kind of money back then.
In the 1970s, you still had NFL players working second jobs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In the off season.
Right. Yeah.
We're not talking about doing commercials.
My uncle was friends with Bob Lilly, and they went to college together. And I got to meet Bob Lilly. Came to a radio station I was working at to record a commercial. It's like, hey, you knew my uncle, and he's like, oh yeah, well, tell him hello and the whole thing, and and then someone, I think it wasn't our sports guy. It was a guy that worked at the station that was heavy in sports. Actually, I think it's our friend Tommy Daniels. I think that is the one that told me this.
Oh,
that back in his day, they made nothing. They weren't making anything, and this would have been the late 80s, early 90s, actually, I think, when Tommy and I were working at the same station, I think. And he said, those guys they weren't making anything.
It was the late 80s, early 90s when it started to skyrocket. Yeah. That's when it started, though.
But it was making the news, all these new salaries coming. And now you see these deals with players, and it's like, over the top. I mean, it's massive amounts.
200 million, 300 million over a particular time period with the guarantee. Now, the only thing that really matters is the guarantee, because if you're let go, that you get the guarantee, but you don't get the rest of the monies.
Right.
But the star players get the majority of those guarantees.
Right.
But looking here, for example, I wanted to see Chris Cuomo at News Nation. What is he doing? All right. And this was from IMBD. Cuomo is struggling to replicate the same success he found at CNN with his News Nation series. The ratings for Cuomo are reportedly down 90% overall and 95% in the 25 to 54 age demographic compared to his time at CNN, according to Nielsen rating numbers shared with the New York Post. This is last August. I don't have an updated as to right now. But the journalist's self-titled series reportedly averages around 164,000 total viewers and 15,000 in the 25 to 54 age demographic. In comparison, his former show on CNN, 1.4 million listeners, viewers, and 374,000 in the 25-54 demographic. So that's why they don't appear. And what I find interesting, though, is because I don't know how to qualify this, but I just find it interesting. Trump has rejected Fox News, as we know.
Yeah.
Don Jr., we don't watch Fox News anymore. We don't watch it anymore. Remember, after the 2020 election, don't watch Fox News. Go to Newsmax. Remember that push?
Yeah, right.
Never worked.
Nope. You know, I'm looking at one example of someone who's no longer in the media. He's certainly been in the news lately. And they're doing it on their own. They're doing their own YouTube thing. Don Lemon. So just as an example, because his name's been in the top of the mind because of everything going on with him lately. But he's got 1.2 million subscribers. Now, if you look at it, his videos aren't getting 1.2 million views. They're getting tens of thousands, but they're not getting. But still, if you look at it, I mean, some of the videos have, 100,000 views.
Are all the videos after the church?
I'd have to go back and put them in chronological order because they organize them differently. I'll have to look at that here and see if they have that available. Let's see here. Let's see. So the ones after the church. Let's see here. 56,000, 22,000 on one, 139,000. So in some of these videos, he's outperforming some cable news shows.
Yeah.
And everybody says, it's and we've made fun of Oberman and others, and they're all now in their basement in their bedroom or whatever doing their own thing. But if they do it right, they can monetize. They're not going to monetize the way they did back in the heyday on cable news, but they can monetize and get more viewers than some of the cable news channels.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Who needs to give roses on Valentine's Day? Perhaps consider for a loved one this floral bouquet instead.
Cyclamen is considered a great option for Valentine's Day.
Spelled Cyclaman. Kansas State University Extension Garden expert Cynthia Domingini explains the growing popularity of this variety as a Valentine's floral option.
The leaves have that heart shape to them. They also get a really lovely bloom that's very unique atop this slender stem. There's varieties in pink, different shades of pink from light to dark, as well as white.
Cyclamen are perennials with over 20 species available. These plants are typically fall bloomers, yet
the blooms last for a very long time.
Several months, if while indoors they get ample light, plenty of humidity, and protection from drafts. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Interesting that you brought up the whole Don Lemon thing and how he's doing on the streaming as we talk about the cable news ratings that were out there. This was earlier this week and never got to it. But since you brought it up, an article by Warren Kozak, an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal. He's a news writer for network anchors.
Okay.
And he goes, Don Lemon, Tucker Carlson, and the fear of disappearing. TV news personalities also often dread the prospect of not being watched.
Yeah.
And he said he spent most of his first half of his career as a news writer for network anchors. And he says, here it is here. When you put a human being in a chair and a large camera captures his image, ionizes it, and sends it out through wires, it seems to have a major effect on his personality.
Yeah, I bet.
We'll get to more of that coming up next.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Yeah, so we were just looking at the cable number, the ratings, and Fox News has 16 of the top shows.
Yeah.
The top 16 shows are all Fox News, which is pretty amazing. And then the drop-off is just huge. And, you know, the interesting thing is, Eric, when you look at Trump's first term, remember in Trump's first term, Fox News ratings went down and MSNBC, remember how they went up and CNN's ratings were up?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is, to me, I don't know what it means, but it's really interesting. And I don't know what this means for the midterm, but you've got Trump now in his second term. You've got the numbers, his poll numbers, not where he wants them to be. Affordability still a problem. On the issues, though, and this is the one thing, on the actual issues, if you take the Republican Party and Trump's name off of it, the vast majority of the American people agree with Republicans. Yeah. But it's very interesting to see Trump, who possibly, could be a lame duck president by November, right? Mm-hmm. That's a possibility. Mm-hmm. The Fox News is through the roof, and the liberal media is crashing. The cable networks are absolutely crashing. And I find that fascinating.
Well, I wonder if, I mentioned earlier that one of the former editors of the New York Times mentioned that every time there was a story about Trump, subscriptions went through the roof. That was during his first term. I wonder if that's still the case now.
But that's a good point, but it was the fact that they were criticizing Trump.
I think they're still criticizing Trump.
No, but well, remember the Washington Post would not endorse last year.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that's view. I mean the people that were reading the Washington Post, mm-hmm. and I do think that after they didn't endorse last year, they're not looking for news. They're looking for political activism.
Well,
that's what the Democrats.
And New York Times would be the same.
Right.
And if they were going up during the first term and they're not going up now, and it's like cable news was the liberal activism, cable news was going up during the first term and not so much these days. I have to believe a lot of that, though, is based on the issues and what Trump pointed out, what was obvious to most of us, but during those Trump years, and then during the period when he was not president, during the Biden years, how they went after him. I think there's a lot less tolerance for that, except for the radicals, the very strong radical base. Outside of that, your general audience really doesn't tolerate that kind of garbage. Now, and, you get into lawfare and everything else in that discussion, but now things are different. And once they migrate away from what viewers leave those channels, they leave that experience, you're changing. What you're doing is you're changing their routine. The audience for Fox News, seemingly based on the ratings, is loyal. That loyalty is key because you're competing not just with other cable news, you're competing with everything on every streaming, any form of information. And I wonder, again, all right, did habits change because they believe they're not being radical enough at CNN? They're not being radical enough at MSNBC, even though Joy Reid gets fired basically for being too radical?
Well, I think, but that could have turned off some of the radicals from watching MSNBC.
Yes, exactly.
You fired Joy Reid. But I think one of the things that is going on is, for example, I forgot who wrote the article last week. I think it was Jonathan Turley talking about, look, they're not changing at these networks. These people would rather that the network would die or that a newspaper would die than actually try to be fair. And he talked about the CNN meeting where they were saying, you got to fire Scott Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
These are people at CNN saying Scott Jennings has to go. And I think the thing is what they don't like. They don't like it. There's a couple of audio cuts that I have where CNN and actually MSNBC daring to even challenge the politicians. They don't want that.
Right.
They don't want that. They don't want a Scott Jennings. They just want the propaganda. But they have gone so insane that even the anchors, that's one of the problems even with Morning Joe at times, is they'll look at it and they'll go, well, I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is, it's sort of getting to be, if you want to look at the barometer would be Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm still a Democrat, but he questions everything. They do not want to be questioned. It's either you're aboard or you're not. And I think that's what's hurting them. They want pure political activism. They believe they were getting it from the Washington Post. And when the Washington Post said, hey, we're not going to endorse anybody, that was it.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And I think when
if you're not going to commit, if you're not going to, again, silence is violence. That spirit of silence is violence is very much at play in that scenario, if that's the case, because you're not willing to, again, fight. You're not willing to be radical enough and go the full measure. That's what we're looking for.
Well, when you see, for example, that Kamala Harris is still leading by 14 points in the last polling for the next, for the Democratic nomination for 2028. Mm-hmm. Newsom can't get any inroads. Think about this. Josh Shapiro is not really a moderate. As we brought up, because of the whole ICE thing last week. It was like, okay, this proves it. They can't consider him, but he would be viewed on other issues as a moderate for Democrats, not Republicans, for Democrats, but they reject him because he's Jewish.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism leads there. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw, when he wrote in his book about what Kamala Harris's people asked him, whether he's a double agent for Israel.
Yeah.
My God, these people are bat soup crazy, and they only want bat soup crazy. And if somebody challenges them, like a Scott Jennings, think about it. The one reason, we play the audio cuts of him, but nobody wants to sit through the insanity of the left.
Right.
But the left would. But then when Scott Jennings comes on, they turn off because he's making a point that they can't argue with.
They can't debate.
And what infuriates Democrats, as I found out many, many times over my couple of decades doing this, many decades doing this, is right now you cannot criticize if you make a salient point against a Democrat point, you will infuriate them.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go bonkers.
Yeah.
They'll change the topic.
Yeah.
You know, you see even in these hearings that are going on, you know, when the president's, when Besson has been on, whatever, Democrats, Besson even said the other day, he said, you know, I'm here to talk about this, and you're talking about something completely different. Are we ever going to get to why I'm here? They don't want to talk about why he's there.
Nope.
They only want to talk about what they believe. They don't want to talk about where they actually are on the issues because they know independents won't agree with them. And they know they need independence. They may need independence more than the Republicans need independence.
Yeah.
Because at least Republicans agree, I would vote, even though we've criticized Trump, I would vote for Trump again over any of the Democrats. Because do I disagree with Trump on things? Absolutely. Do I think the things he says at times are inappropriate for a president? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he always tells the truth? Of course not. But he's better than the option.
Yep.
Way better than the other options that exist out there. Because the other side has shown no sense of moderating at all. In fact, they've gotten more radical and more radical and more radical.
And that is the, I don't know, ray of sunshine in terms of the possibilities of November, of where it goes, is the fact that
yes,
the radical and what they're fighting for right now. Look at the shift in recent days since the lawsuit on transgenders. The lawsuit came down, and when it landed, you had the American Medical Association and one other association come out and say, no, we have to rethink this. We can't be doing this. If that's the case, and it's funny because I said that night when we were talking about the lawsuit that the medical community is going to have to come to terms on this. But as those things are happening, and you see that more and more the case, it is proof. You shouldn't need proof. It's common sense to all of us. But it is shutting down a major driver for the left. Now, they're still pushing against it. They're still going to campaign for it. They still want open borders. They still want all of these radical things. And if you look at it, you know, the Jasmine Crockett thing basically is pointing to we need open borders, do away with ICE and impeach Noam. You know, she didn't say open borders in the ad, but that's what they're pressing for. And then voter ID, Jim Crow 2.0. Sorry, Chuck, it's 3.0. 2.0 was the Georgia voting law. Always taking the burger off too early. But those, you know, that's what they, and, you know, they're looking at, you know, the Axios story. The radicals in the House and the Democrats want Chuck gone.
Yeah.
He's losing it. He doesn't know how to be radical enough. Yep. And he's radical.
Yep. He's become as radical as you can get them. And it's like, and I think another perfect example is the Tallarico Jasmine Crockett race here, where they're fighting to try to prove to Texans who is crazier than the other one.
Exactly.
I burst out laughing. I know a lot of conservatives didn't, but when I saw Tallarico trying to make the claim that the Bible justifies that abortion is correct, that God wants abortions, I burst out laughing. I'm like, you're really going there?
Viral, and he stands by it.
I know.
My gosh.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I can actually say that I think the Democrats are trying harder to lose in November than Republicans are. But I mean, seriously, the whole Tallarico thing against Jasmine Crockett,
right,
when he came out, and I don't even know how they got to that point. But the fact that he even delved into that area, it's like, don't go there.
Yeah.
If I'm a political consultant, I'm going to tell a Democrat, you're running in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Do not try to make something up that the Bible endorses abortion. Don't try it.
No.
Don't try that lie. If
No.
you're going to lie about something else, which is why I could never be a political consultant, because I don't know if I could tell someone, you need to lie better.
Yeah, here's a better lie. Recommend a better lie to them.
I don't think morally I could do that.
No,
I just couldn't say, you need to lie. Look, could you lie about this better, for gosh sakes?
Well, I can't start anything that's on that kind of foundation. Well, lack of foundation. You know what I mean? If it starts with a lie, I can't honestly say, and that will work for you.
Well, but abortion is really not the issue anymore.
No.
It
isn't.
We looked at what they said, remember, in the 2024 election. Well, abortion's still going to be the biggest issue for women out there, and the biggest women's issue was what? The radical transgender movement.
Yep.
And so but this shows you how radical they are, where their mindset is. Their mindset is not the actual problems that people face. It's their far left radicalism.
Yeah, it is.
To the
It
point
really
of,
is.
how can I justify this? Okay, I'm going to try to justify that the Bible and God endorse abortion.
Yeah.
Really now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.